Welcome to the Illustrator tutorial videos for the pewter casting task. In this video, I'm going to be going through with you how to create your design for your pewter casting using an image from the internet and then doing a few extra things to make it personalized. At this point, you should already have set up your custom canvas in Illustrator using the video that I went through how to do that, and you should already have found an image on the internet that you would like to use that's completely black and white, and save that into your folder. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to do is we're going to open up the image that we are going to use. So we're going to go up to File and then Open. Okay, and click on our image. Now I'm used a PNG file. The JPEG files work really well as well. Any image file should open in Illustrator and be useful for this. Okay, now you can see that it comes in as a separate window up here for you to use, but I don't want it there. I want it to be in my own canvas that I've already set up. So I'm going to copy and paste it in using Control-C, then going over to my canvas and Control-V to paste it in. Now it's coming quite large because that's the size of the image compared to my canvas. I'm just going to zoom out to start with so that I can see what it looks like. I'm just using Control- on my keyboard to zoom out. Okay, now I can see that it's selected and I know what I'm doing. Okay, so now I need to move, trying to move game bar and it's not having a bar of it. You test these things out before the video starts and then it still doesn't work. So I need to change the size of this. That might work better for me. So you should be able to do it just up there. Unfortunately, because I've got game bar open and it's not letting me move it this time, I've got to use this down arrow and do it down here. Now I need to link my proportions because I don't want to have the have it all squished up or anything else, and I want to kind of make it the same kind of size, same area as it would take up if it was a 25 by 25 millimeter square. So I'm aiming for that kind of amount of area taken up, but obviously this is not a square shape. So I'm going to choose 30 for my width, 30 millimeters. Okay, and then press enter, and that's automatically set the height for me there as 15.409 to be in the same proportion as my width. Now I'm just going to bring that back up again using Control+ to zoom in, and I've now got my design here. I can see what that's going to look like in relation to the size of my actual mold piece, and that looks pretty good. That looks like it's going to be about the right kind of shape and size. Okay, now before I get any further, I'm going to just change a few things over here. No, actually I'm going to go do my image trace first, then I'm going to change a few things. Okay, so I've got that in there now. It's still a raster based image at this point, so it's not a vector image yet. It has no vector lines. The only line it knows is the very outline edge of the image itself, that it's going, look, this is all I've got to go on. So we're going to use an image trace so that it can figure out where I might like to have a vector line created. Now there's a few different options it comes up with. For a really good clear black and white one like this, default works really fine, but if you have some thin lines you may need to choose a couple of other ones. Now when I click on that at this point in time, it's going to give me a bit of a visual look as to what that would look like as a filled shape using the default setting. So if you don't get a good clear result from that, try some other options in the preset menu there. Once you're happy with that, you're then going to expand that, and now we can see there's a blue line that goes all the way around the outside of it, and that's now our vector outline. So I'm just going to click off that and then click back on it again to show that it's still there and how it works. And we're going to change some of our appearance settings over here so we can see what it will look like as just a vector line. It's going to make a few things a little clearer for us. So I'm going to click on fill, and I'm going to go, I don't want any fill. I don't want it to be coloured in at all. I just want to be able to see my lines. I actually want to see my lines though, so at the moment there are no lines. I want to change that to being black so I can see it. And this size of my line over here, I want to make that as small as possible. Okay, so 0.25 points, and if I click off of it, now I can see that I've got some outlines going on here, but I can also see it's given me an outline around the box as well. Now, if you want that to be part of your design, that's all good, but most likely you don't. Okay. So we're just going to click on our design again, and I'm going to ungroup. Okay, then click off of it, and then when I click on just that rectangle and press delete, I still have my outline there, but I don't have that square around it anymore. Okay, I'm going to apologize in advance for the page moving up and down randomly. I don't have my mouse connected, and the trackpad is very sensitive on this laptop. Let's just try and get that back into the right spot. Okay, so now I have this guy, and so far I've managed to do most of this, or pretty much all of this, using just my normal selection tool, which is all good, nice and easy to do. So I'm now going to add some text in. Okay, so I'm going to go over to my text tool, my type tool. I'm going to select that, and I'm just going to click on my page, and it brings in this kind of default text there. Now I've already set up my preferences in terms of font, and a few other changes that I'd like to have made, including having it as all caps, changing the width of my letters, because I really want to space it out and spread it out and make it look really cool. So I've already got that all organized over there. So I'm going to just double click this and change my text to what I want it to be. Okay. Now if I want to move that around while I'm still in the text tool, I can hold down my control key, and that changes it to my selection tool, and it's going to be whichever one of the selection tools I last used. So I'm going to bring that down and kind of position that where I want it to be. Okay, and I think that looks pretty good there. Now again, I'm going to change that so that there's no fill. Okay, and I just have the stroke as black, and you can see it comes in quite thick there, so 0.25 points. Okay, I'm going to go to my selection tool now that I'm done with that being actual text, and you can see that. Now if I really want to see just the paths with no stroke around it at all, I should be able to go Control Y, and that shows me what's going on there. Okay, it's going to go out of that. Now this at the moment is still set as a text thing, which is not going to translate well going from this. Even if I save it as vectors and everything else now, it's going to go into AutoCAD, and it's going to kind of change that font to a different font. It's going to move it around. It's going to not be all capitals anymore, etc. So I'm going to fix that and make sure that doesn't happen. So I'm going to go down here to create outlines and click on that. And that will then change it from being text. Okay, I'll no longer be able to modify that as text. And it is now just a series of paths, okay, that happen to be in the shape of letters. Now, if I want to go a little step further and actually edit the individual parts of each letter, instead of them being connected together, then I can actually also go down here and go release, okay, and that will allow me to, in the direct selection tool, and you can see how it's highlighting differently now, it's highlighting those individual sections for me. I can actually select just those little bits in the direct selection tool. Now, if I want to be able to move them away from each other, then I'll also need to ungroup, but I don't need to go that far at this point in time. Okay. So that's pretty much all good. I'm happy with that there now, and I want to get this to the point where I can save it as a file that AutoCAD is going to recognize, so that I can bring it into the AutoCAD document where I've already got my other parts for laser cutting set up. Now I could draw all the parts for my mold in Illustrator, but it's going to be a bit clunky to do that, and what I've organized for you is one that's already nice and neat and ready as a template in AutoCAD that you can just bring this into nice and easily. Alright, so save this first of all as an actual Illustrator file. Okay, so do yourself a save as first, because if you need to come back and make any changes to this, it's going to be very hard to do that using just the exported DXF file. Once you've done that, go down to Export, Export As. Okay, make sure you know where you're saving it to and you're happy with that location. Okay, so it's going to save it into my Pictures folder. Am I happy with that? I don't know, maybe I'd rather have that in a different folder where I can find it. Okay, it needs to be a DXF file. So the one that's at the very top of the list, the one that was actually default, is a fine one to use. And I want to give it a name that I'm going to recognize what it is. Okay. With name. Okay, so instead of Batman, I could have had my own name there if I really wanted to, but that will be working fine for now. It's now going to come up with this. Now for our computers, this is fine. If you had an older version on AutoCAD you're using, you would need to select a different version, but otherwise we're all good to just go, yep, okay, all good. Okay, now I did actually see there was an option there for us to outline the text, but that's all right. We've got this sorted now. Okay, now, and it's important to note that in your actual image and design on your mold, the letters and everything else will need to be mirrored, but we're going to do that in AutoCAD rather than worrying about doing it in here. All right, so that's it, everyone. Move on to the next tutorial. Bye.